Well, good morning to the exactly one person watching so far. Which might actually just be me. Hi guys. Family in chat. Hi Mom. Alright, so more or less we're just waiting for temperature to go up. It's currently 1.8 degrees below zero. We can't even think about opening until it goes above zero. So, ooh, it's 1.7 now. It's ticking up. We might be here a while. In the meantime, I got chickadees for you to look at. Yes, the soundtrack better be good. I spent half an hour fighting with it. Chickadees are not live. The chickadees are pre-recorded. And yes, it is looped. You are allowed to communicate with me in the chat. That'll be easier than me checking my phone every single time. Also, hello to our other viewers coming in. I should probably put a little thing there showing the current temperature. Oh god, that's huge. Become smaller. There we go. All the watermarks in the way. Okay, you go on the left now. All right, so good morning to the 4 people that are here. Stream will be starting eventually. It's just too cold right now. For bird safety reasons, we don't open nets when it's above 0 because birds can't effectively thermoregulate when they're restrained in a net. So we'll be sitting here for a bit. Temperatures started to go up, and it tends to go up quickly once it starts going. Yeah. But yeah, in the meantime, sit back and hang out. Morning all, for those of you just tuning in, the temperature is taking its sweet time getting to a safe threshold, so unless you feel like sitting around and looking at the chickadee loop, maybe come back in like 15-20 minutes or so. I'm going to be popping in and out saying hi depending on how many people are here, so like there is some potential for a bit of free stream chat, but not a lot.
Grab a pen.
Here's a pen, Irene. If you hear people thumping around, by the way, I have a few volunteers joining me, which I'll introduce later once we actually get started. But in the meantime, I'm just going to keep staring at this thermometer as it keeps ratcheting up a couple notches. Anybody seen any good birds lately? I'm gonna need to cut so much out of this wad. I really expected it to be above zero by now. I wasn't even supposed to go below zero this morning. Oh well. You know what, I did kind of expect this stream to be a little bit of a technical mess, so you know, this isn't the worst thing. Ooh, lots of turkey vultures. Yeah, this would probably be peak raptor migration back in Ontario now, wouldn't it? So vultures, eagles, sharpies, those would all be moving in pretty good numbers. Probably get some really nice kettles of those over the lake. My weather app says it should be 5 degrees right now. Somehow I doubt that. Alright, I've had an idea. So the entire point of keeping nets closed keeping nets closed below 0 degrees is because, birds can't thermoregulate effectively in the net while they're restrained, and, they have a risk of getting hypothermic if they're stuck there too long. However, we have one non-standard feeder net that can be monitored constantly, so birds are never in there for longer than like a minute. So I've got my volunteers opening that. So we'll be able to get you guys some birds before we're able to actually open our standardized migration monitoring nets. Those birds will be mostly chickadees because they're coming to a bird feeder. But you know what? It's something. So in order to make sure that in order to help expedite birds getting out of the net, I'll be popping out every now and then to help with extractions. But making things start to happen, and that's good. So now it's just a matter of waiting for birds to actually go in. Which may take anywhere from several minutes to about 30 seconds, depending on how hungry they are this morning. Let's get Irene some bird bags. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just had a chickadee fly into the feeder net. So the live stream is now officially started! Yay! I exist now. I'm a human. You're not staring at a chickadee loop. I'm not slowly listening to my sanity erode as I stare at a thermometer. So that chickadee is just in the process of getting extracted right now. Shouldn't take too long because it just went in. And then we'll be able to bring it in here and do our thing. Good old chickadees. Very reliable. And definitely not my favorite bird to handle. You'll see why they're not my favorite bird in a moment. Excuse me while I shuffle around awkwardly and kind of hover over our volunteers from outside. Ooh, you know what? I'll actually be right back. I need to quickly do something outside. Be right back with you. I am back, and now I have a bird, or I'm about to. Thank you. So, we have a bird. It's in this bag right now. It's just been extracted from the net, which is, fun, because now I have a bird that I really don't like handling, which you'll see why in a moment. So all these tools have specialized functions for actual banding. I'll explain most of them in a moment. First step that we do, weigh the bird on this electronic balance. We can do that inside the bag, and we should do it inside the bag because otherwise birds are just going to fly off whenever you put them on something. Then once we remove the bird from the bag, we put the bag back on the scale, and it displays the difference between the bagged bird and the bag without the bird. Ow, ow. And there we go, a black-capped chickadee. A bird that is insanely aggressive and very ornery when being handled. Hence why I don't really like dealing with them, because their first inclination to anything is to just immediately bite. They're great. The banding binder is in the other room on the counter. Do you mind grabbing that for me? Thanks. So in the meantime, I'll show this guy off. And yeah, you can see immediately why they're kind of jerks. So this is a black-capped chickadee, one of the more common feeder birds you'll be finding around here. They're a resident species that don't really migrate. They stick around in the natural area all year round. Would you actually mind scribing for me?
Sure.
Just have a few too many things here and not enough hands.
Right.
So this blue binder can go in the drawer like the data binders. Right, so off to my right is, I'm sorry, I've immediately forgotten your name.
Molly.
Molly. Off to my right is Molly. She's one of our volunteers for today. She's going to be scribing. Ow! She's going to be scribing for me. So as you may or may not have noticed, this chickadee already has a band. And wow, there's a really inconvenient sunbeam right here. As you may have noticed, this chickadee already has a band. When we have a banded bird, we don't just band it again. We record that band number because now we can track these birds as individuals. So this chickadee's band number is 2960. Oh, sorry, wrong page. We'll go on to the recapture page. 2960 50080. So now we record that band number. We then retake all of our measurements so that we can gauge bander accuracy and also get a sense of how this bird's condition has changed over time. So the first thing we do is try to age it, which we can usually do by, looking at various characteristics of the plumage and molt. Birds will replace their feathers every single year and do so in very highly predictable ways. A lot of passerines, so songbirds, will replace all of their body feathers. They'll replace most of their wing coverts, so these feathers right along here, but they very pointedly will not replace their primary coverts, this feather tract, or their flight feathers, or their tail feathers. There's some exceptions to that rule, but that's generally what they'll go for. That's referred to as a partial molt. When they're in adults, they'll be doing a complete molt, meaning that they replace absolutely every single feather. So usually in a young bird, we can see where that pattern of feather replacement stops, and then where the old feathers are left over. In chickadees, this is kind of unreliable because their juvenile feathers are already looking fantastic when they grow in. So you have to eyeball based on some rather vague features that aren't entirely reliable. And this is one where I'm getting mixed messages. So typically what we're looking for is we want to see the white on the outside of the tail feather wrap all the way around in an adult bird. Whereas in a young bird, it'll stop right at the end. And we're seeing here that it's stopping right at the end, but it's also a really wide band, which is typically more often found in older birds. And so the rest of the feathers look pretty pointy, which indicates younger. Primary covert's there. Call it hatchier. So yeah, species code is BCCH. That's 1004. Captured at, that was what, 9:15? Something like that?
Yeah.
And in a feeder net. Just right feeder. This is a hatchier by plumage. And sex is unknown. Chickadees don't really have any external characteristics that we can sex them by. Not easily, at least. I'll talk about that more in a second. Initials are SKA. Where's my ruler? Where did I leave that? Sarah might have stolen it.
Do you want to write down this one next too?
There's
another one.
Let's do the flyer. There it is.
Got another one for you.
Cool. Hang that on the wall behind me. So next step is take a wing measurement. I'm gonna fix the lighting in a minute. So next we take a wing chord measurement. Helps us gauge how large the bird is. This one is 67 millimeters. No, you don't. And then tail length. Also 67. Take an assessment of flight feather wear. It's graded by a sort of arbitrary numerical scale. This one's 1 on the flight feathers by also a 1. So 1 means a little bit of wear, 0 means none at all. Scale goes up to 5, which is, oh god, what have you done? These feathers are appalling. CP and BP are 0, they're always going to be 0 this time of year. Those refer to breeding characteristics, which they'll be showing in the spring. It's not spring, in case you haven't noticed. And then we take a measurement of fat and body mold. Fat is 0, body mold is 1. So fat is scored on a 7-point scale. Dude, it's also super out of focus. Where's the focal plane for this thing? All the way over there. Wow, that's tiny. Okay. Where was I? Yeah, so fat we record on an 8-point scale, with 0 meaning you have no fat at all, or no visible fat, and 7 meaning, oh god, lay off the cheeseburgers, please. I have never in my entire career seen a bird at a 7. I have seen only one bird that has a fat score of 6. And that was a white-eyed vireo that was a good 400 kilometers north of where it should have actually been. Cool, same thing.
This one has no band.
Ooh!
This one has a band. This one in the color has no band.
Cool. So, with everything done, the only step left with this guy is to release him. Or this guy or gal, I don't know which, we have no way of knowing. One of the things that's actually been researched is the cheek patches of chickadees. So the white over there fluoresces differently under ultraviolet light between male and female chickadees, which might be a way of actually being able to sex them. Birds can see into the ultraviolet spectrum, humans can't. So until we figure out a way to be able to view them in ultraviolet, we're a little bit out of luck. But that's some promising bit of research that, you know, will be pretty interesting to see if that ever comes to fruition. Anyway, I'll release this. I've held onto this one long enough. So I'll release it out of the hatch we have at the back here. And there it goes. Back into the wild, off on its merry way. Let's do this one now. Oh, I never gave you the weight, did I? No, I didn't. Whoops. That's fine. They're working on another bird? They are.
They are. They're going fast.
Well, see, the nice thing about the feeder net is that it does catch a fair few birds. Unfortunately, they're all going to be chickadees, which will get a little monotonous, but we're 0.5 below zero now, so we'll be able to open the migration nets soon.
Is that the guy without the band?
No, this is the banded one still.
Okay.
It bears mentioning that because it's still below zero, I am monitoring all these birds for cold stress. Which, you know, we're all trained to look out for. So if I start seeing any cold stress birds coming in, I'm just going to close up shop again. But these chickadees are pretty hardy. They're doing fine. So the weight of this chickadee is 11.4 grams. So let's draw a dash through the weight above. So band number here, you're grabbing onto your own foot, stop it. Band number here is 2960 50286. Oh, you again. So a lot of times birds will kind of clue in that nets are bad and will figure out how to avoid them. Some birds don't really get the message. This chickadee is one of them. We've recaptured it like 5 or 6 times over the course of the season. And that's not even the worst. There's one in our history that was recaptured 17 times in a single year, which it just didn't get the hint. I need to do something about that sunbeam. I don't know what. It's covering like half the banding bench. So there might just not be anything I can do about it. Anyway. You guys know the drill. Look for molt limit along the greater coverts. Okay, this one's a lot more obvious. So I'm not sure how much better it shows up here, but the white is a lot thinner. It stops right at the end. All these feathers are pretty pointed, which is a feature of younger feathers. So that's a hatchier. That's a nice easy one. Yeah, and so you can just draw a line down for everything except time before that. Time will be 9:30, I guess? Hi.
I lowered the nets for a sec there, because
Yeah, that's fine.
it's a good 5. 2, this one's not banded either.
Yeah. We're at minus 0.4, so we'll be able to open in
Shortly.
shortly. But that feeder net's done a good job of tiding us over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Might reopen it again if the actual nets are a bit slow, but...
If only we could catch a couple of those myrtles yet.
Oh, thank you for catching that, Tanya. Yeah, it would be nice if we could actually get something that wasn't chickadees. For this exact reason.
But
Right, hatcher, sex unknown. Draw a line down underneath ska.
can I do this one?
Sure.
Oh, excellent.
Wing is 65. Tail is 62. This is a small one. Light feather wear is 1 by 1.
It's a 0, yeah?
I take a 0, yes. We'll get to it in a minute.
Okay.
So let's see how well you can actually see that. So when I'm blowing for fat, I'm blowing the feathers away and looking for... Why? I'm looking for fat stored in the furcular hollow. Bird skin's very transparent, so you can see by being able to see the muscle through the skin, and fat will show up as yellowish deposits that sometimes bulge out. Chickadees, being a non-migratory bird, don't tend to really store much fat at all. So the only times they have any fat on them is when they've been eating really well or preparing for, or usually are preparing for the breeding season, actually. What am I missing for this one? All right. So 0, 0, 0, and then molt is a 1.
Actually, if you're recording, I'll let you do it.
I mean, you can. I can just point the camera away. It'll just be your hands on camera.
Okay. Okay.
All right, this one's ready to go. Let's let it go. Out of here.
Alrighty.
All right, so I'm just going to point the camera over here so that I can stay on it while Irene, one of our volunteers, actually bands.
Alrighty. Whoops, where's your...
Underneath.
Underneath. Okay. Oopsie, zeroed out. Sure, it's working again.
So Irene's a longtime volunteer with the BBO. She's well known to us, and I actually called her in specifically for today to help with the live stream. And she's already been a great help so far, so thank you, Irene.
You're most welcome. And putting the bag back in again. We'll weigh that one up at 10.2.
What's the section
And
for the unbanded guys?
The 0.
Hmm?
Oh, we'll get to that in a second.
We'll get to it.
Yeah. That just means it doesn't have a band yet.
Okay, so have you got the 0 section?
Oh, right, yes, it needs a new band, yeah. So flip over to 0 over here.
Okay.
And this one will be a little different. She'll only be giving you the last 2 digits.
And the last 2 digits are 6, 7.
So you need to make sure that's within sequence.
Yep, it's the very next.
So make sure your hands are within the field of view of the camera so everyone can see what you're doing.
This right here? Okay, here we go.
A bit lower.
A
Lower
bit
to the
lower?
right.
Alrighty.
There we go. So the
Okay.
bands themselves are made of lightweight aluminum. They're very malleable. As I may have mentioned before, each one of them contains is inscribed with a unique 9-digit number. The band stays on the bird's leg for the rest of its life. It's also completely safe to it. The bands are specifically sized, as Irene's just showing now, so that they can spin freely without going over either of the joints.
We spin it around, looks good. Alright.
So now that bird can be tracked as an individual.
Okay, so now we're checking out the end tips, and I'll have Shane check that on me as well. It doesn't wrap around,
Over to the right.
so very pointy. Would be a hatch your bird.
I agree.
Alrighty, and we'll do the wing and tail measurements. Is 64, pardon me.
Ooh, we're at 0.1 below 0.
Oh, by the time we get to the nets, it'll be there. Okay, and 60 on the tail. The flight feather wear is 1 on the wing and quite a bit more on the tail. Looks quite.
Oh, yeah, that's quite a messy tail.
Yeah, so could I see that's a 3?
Well, we average
at
it
least
across the
2?
entire feather tract, so
So it's, well, let's see.
there's
2
there's
for
a
sure.
lot of there's a lot of chunks missing. I would actually call that a 3.
A 3? Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll go 3 on that one. Okay, flight, okay.
So I'll show that off a little bit more closely
And-
once you're done with it.
Well, this
Oh,
is
we're at
good.
0.
Oh, this one's got tons of,
Tons of molt.
yeah.
Yeah. So birds are still molting this time of year. For the most part, their flight feather, their wing molt is all complete. Most of what they're molting now is just body plumage.
So, tons on the body, but not on the back, I can't see.
Yeah. How many quarters? Is it more than half the body?
No, not more than half.
More than a quarter?
Let's say it's just on the tummy.
Alright, so probably 2 if it's pretty heavy there.
Yeah, pretty heavy there. Yeah, and the CPVP and all that 000, and fat. Let's give it a 1 because it has a wee tiny bit.
Okay.
Molt 0?
Molt is a 2.
2?
Yeah.
What was its weight?
Weight
10.2.
10.2. And is that everything on it?
I think so.
Okay, we have a newly banded, slightly unhappy chickadee, but not unusual.
Grab that quickly just to show off the molt and everything.
Okay.
Got it.
Thank you very much for letting me do that.
Thank you for coming by. So, remember we were talking about like that really awful tail? In this case, compared to the last one, we have a big chunk missing right here. We have another big chunk missing in this feather right here. So, at that point when you have chunks missing and all that, that feather is considered very heavily worn. So now this one's good to go. I need to realign this camera. Oh yeah.
Okay, so I should wrap up that net that's out there. I just lowered it. I haven't yet wrapped it.
Yeah, let's furl it. And we're also at 0.1 degrees. So in 4 minutes, so we open on the quarter. I'm gonna send you guys out to open.
And your show will be SKA again?
ISC.
ISC. Oh, yeah, because I read it.
Yeah. All right, we have 2 more chickadees, and then hopefully we'll be getting stuff that's not chickadees being brought in. Hopefully. What are we doing for free viewership and everything, by the way? 9 confirmed viewers, not bad. How do they got chunks missing from their tail? A lot of it, you see extreme feather wear a lot more with younger birds because their flight feathers aren't very well put together or constructed. They grew them out in most of a hurry because they want to get out of the nest. When they get chunks missing from the tail, it's mostly just because the feather itself has structural imperfections that result in pieces of the webbing just kind of breaking off and falling off. It's much like, I guess it's like the bird equivalent of split ends. In a lot of other cases, with ground birds in particular, you see this a lot with sparrows, the ends of their feathers will be really worn and there'll be small pieces missing because that tail is dragging on the ground constantly, and so it just gets worn and ratty very fast. So this is another unbanded chickadee, which means that I get to put a band on it. And that's actually, the reason I get a little bit excited about unbanded chickadees is because we're not getting them that much anymore this year. We've banded most of the chickadees that are in the area. So this band is 68. So that's what these pliers are for, and in case you didn't really see it with Irene. The posts here help open the band, just like that. And the holes are specifically sized for the band itself, and are also sized for the bird's legs. So when I'm closing the band, I can actually put as much pressure on it as I want, and as long as the bird's leg is within the band, I have absolutely no risk of injuring the bird, which is great. So again, that chickadee's now banded. And this is going to be one of the tough ones, because the white does wrap around, but not really a huge amount. And see, this is why I was saying that that's considered an unreliable feature, because like there's a lot of variability within individuals, and chickadees are just hard. And I'm also seeing a sudden change in the greater coverts here. I go from like nice white edging to all of a sudden just dull gray edging. Those primary coverts look very truncate though, so ugh. I'll explain what I'm doing in a second. Suffice to say, it's a little bit of a fool's errand. I can't see anything. Ugh. I don't want to call this unknown, but I might have to. That is an option that's available to me. And you know what? No, that's not really wrapping around substantially. Tail shape isn't the most reliable thing because sometimes it's a little different. Yeah, call it a hatchet.
Okay.
Sometimes when you feel yourself overcomplicating it, you do need to just look at basic features and make a judgment call based on that. So sex is unknown, initials are SKA. Wing is, ooh, you're a big one. Wing is 7-0. Tail is 67. Fat and Molt 0. Oh yeah, flight featherware.
Mm-hmm.
1 by 1. And CBVP are 0, 0. And I haven't weighed it yet, so that means you get to see the alternate weighing method. So in the quite frequent case where we either can't put a bird in the bag or just simply forget to, we have or can't weigh the bird in the bag or just forget to, we have an alternative weighing method involving this extremely high-tech device, fashioned from a toilet paper tube. Only the best for us. So I zero that out, stick the bird inside, .4. Yeah, the chickadee is now just in there. It's always a little precarious with chickadees because they're cavity nesters. So they're very good at fumbling their way out from within tight spaces. And then I can just pull it right back out. I usually like to keep it, the reason you didn't see that is I usually like to keep it close to my body so that then if it sneaks away from me, that's one less direction for it to go. Might be able to get a hold on it better that way. So this one again, also now done, ready to go. Ow! It bit me as a parting gift. What a guy. And the last one in our backlog, I believe another recapture. And then hopefully we'll be getting some more interesting stuff.
How much was that weigh?
I haven't got it out of the bag yet.
Okay. The weight, did you weigh it?
10.7 grams.
Okay.
This one's also a recapture, so flip back. Oh yeah, you're already there. Good. 2810. Hello. That's not a series we used this year. 79409. That's not a band number I recognize. So this actually might be a slightly older chickadee, but I can't go just based on that. Oh no, is this that stupid one that screams hatchier but was actually banded like 4 years ago? I think that's what this one is. Okay, hang on. Flip back a bit until you see a 2810 prefix. Which might take a minute. I'll keep staring at it here. Because there's one chickadee that absolutely screamed hatchier. Everything about its plumage said it was a hatchier bird. And then when we queried the band number, it had actually been banded in like 2017. So by definition, it had to be an after hatchier. Then again, I do have a substantial amount of white wrapping around the tip here. Those primary coverts are very truncate compared to the last one I did. P10 is much less pointy. Flight feathers
Here we
themselves
go.
are in much better
Is it
condition.
2810?
That's a
Doesn't have the
goldfinch.
same number. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Never mind.
False enough.
Alright, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Carry on as usual. I'm going to call this one an afterhatch here,
Okay.
based on plumage. It's kind of cheating to go by previous records. Oh, 2810 is probably a map string. Thank you, John. You know, you're right. And that is quite a bit of white wrapping around. Yeah, I'm confident in afterhatch here now. So sex is unknown. Wing is 66. Tail is 65. Flight feather wear is, again, 1 by 2. Got some chunks missing in the tail here. At 0, Molt is 1. Molt is 1.
Sorry.
No worries.
CPVP?
0 and 0. There's kind of no points in even recording at this time of year. It's all going to be 0.
Okay.
Refers to breeding characteristics, and nothing's breeding right now, except for goldfinches. It is worth checking on goldfinches because they are incredibly late breeders. We're starting to capture some in like late mid-September or something that hadn't even started molting yet.
Sheesh.
They're ridiculously late breeders. Anyway, this chickadee's ready to go, so let's send it on its way. And that is it for birds for the moment. Irene and our other volunteer are busy opening nets, so they will hopefully be bringing us back birds soon. In the meantime, we had a few chickadees, which is fun. Frilled a feeder net. I wonder if anything's bumbled into 2 and 2x so far. Oh, I should do some of today's paperwork because I needed to record temperature at 9:15 and then I didn't. Did I tell Irene to open everything?
I don't know.
It's under a text. She might get it in time. No winds. Cloud was hovering at about 0, and temperature at 9:15 was still.
Just below 0.
No, it only just got above 0 now on the 45. 9:15 was still like -1-ish. That's just part of the paperwork that we do. We record the temperature and weather conditions every 2 hours after opening. Irene also did census. Yes, so, by the way, John is one of our other staff members. He's on his days off right now. Hi, John. Thanks for tuning in. So, what he means by MAPS string, MAPS is a specialized summer protocol that stands for Monitoring of Avian Productivity and Survivorship. So it's a lot different from our migration monitoring protocol. With migration monitoring, we band every single day with standardized net locations in the natural area. With MAPS, we have 3 other standardized locations. We band at each of them once every 10 days. The idea behind maps is to record birds as they're establishing breeding territory, record them as they're nesting, record them as they're feeding young, and also catch all those birds as they're fledging the nest. So it's a way of analyzing their condition as it progresses over the course of the summer without disturbing them too much, hence the once every 10 days. So because it's a completely different protocol that uses different methodology, we used separate strings of bands for them, which will have different numbers. So usually if I get thrown by a band number that doesn't seem familiar, it's probably actually from maps and I just didn't remember it. Or it's a band string that we used in a previous year. But I think John's right, and that one chickadee that I did was actually banded during maps. Yeah, it's a fun protocol. You do get some pretty interesting stuff because you do get some weirdly interesting things breeding around here, and you also get a really good idea of how bird molt works because you see birds as they're progressing over the summer, and you see those molts as they're actually occurring. It's one thing to read in our reference guide, okay, yeah, it does a partial molt, it replaces the body feathers and the greater coverts, but not the primary coverts or flight feathers. It's another to actually see all that feather replacement happening and seeing those feather tracts being very conspicuously left alone, because everything else is in heavy molt, and those aren't being touched. Why do they molt in that specific pattern in their first year? I don't actually know. It's probably just something relating to energy savings. Maybe because they're a younger bird, they don't have the energy to spend on a more expensive molt, so they've just kind of adapted to molt only the stuff that's strictly necessary. It's conjecture, but best idea I've got so far. We can actually get... Yeah, here we go. Now I have a chat pop-out window so that I don't need to constantly be tabbing back and forth between OBS and YouTube. So yes, an earlier comment is that chickadee is pretty calm. A lot of them do appear to be calm. A lot of that is mainly the restraint methods we employ. You'll notice I was only using some very particular grips when handling the birds. Those grips are intended to restrain it as much as possible without actually putting any pressure or undue strain on the bird. And yes, often when they're restrained in that manner, they do actually act a lot calmer. It does minimize the stress on them. Even so, they're definitely not incredibly jazzed about being captured and manhandled, as evidenced by the chickadees expressing their displeasure very painfully. But there have been some follow-up studies that found that stress hormone metabolites go back down to normal very quickly after they've been released. So while there is definitely short-term stress, they go back to acting normally very quickly. So there's not really much, there's not any kind of long-term impact or trauma on them from the handling process. We also very closely monitor them for signs of undue stress, which we're trained to recognize, and we'll release them immediately as soon as we start seeing that. So one of the things I was keeping an eye on with the chickadees earlier was temperature stress, because it was technically a little bit cold to have a net open. I just made a judgment call because it was a single net that we were able to monitor constantly. Since it's still a little cold, even though it's warm enough to now open the migration nets, I will continue to be monitoring for temperature stress as birds are coming in, and make a judgment call based on that, on whether or not we're keeping migration nets open. It's been a stubbornly cold morning, which I did not expect or account for, and there's kind of nothing I can do about that, because I scheduled this stream and the weather decided not to cooperate. Just a woodpecker hanging out by the window. They've been doing that. This building is sided with wood, So the local woodpeckers have actually taken quite a bit of interest in it and have been knocking on the sides of the building, searching for places to cache food. Which is amusing, but also kind of drives you nuts when you're trying to focus on something, because all you hear from the walls is just slightly obnoxious. What are some signs of stress? Well, the main ones we look for are if they fluff up and stay fluffed up, if that crest stays up. Typically we'll also see them start to pant. Beak might be hanging open. Like with the chickadee, the beak was open, but that's because it was preparing to bite. We'll see it more hanging open as if it's panting. Eyes might be closing a little bit. And once we start seeing that, that's just immediate release. It mostly just kind of looks like they're going into a bit of shock. We try to recognize that as early as possible. The exception is with flycatchers, because flycatchers will show all of those instantly the moment you start handling them. Because flycatchers are giant drama queens and will fake stress as a sort of play dead response. So very often when I'm handling a flycatcher, it'll be doing the equivalent of just going like bleh. And then as soon as I like change my grip or tap it on the beak or something, it'll wake right back up. It's just faking. It's a giant drama queen. Inexperienced banders often release flycatchers when they don't need to because it worked on them. Birds. Ooh! Irene's coming back and very proudly holding something fun. Must have flown to the net right in front of her.
I'm going to do a direct handoff. It flew in while we were opening a net.
By all means.
Come and get a little downy. I didn't have a bag in the pocket, so I thought, no, we better just take them out.
Yeah. Good catch. Thank you.
Bird is your head.
Are you opening everything, by the way?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, we just finished opening up the willow nets.
Good.
And that's where he flew in. It was in the first of the three. Is that 59?
That's 59, yes.
59, yeah.
All right, thank you.
59 it is. Beautiful little girl.
So I have something fun. I have a woodpecker. So I'm going to need a different tube for this one because it's bigger.
It's already banded.
It is not.
Okay.
Will you fit in that? You will. Good. All right. So we do catch woodpeckers every now and then. They're always a nice treat. They're a resident bird. And they're bigger and more exciting, and that's cool. So, Danny woodpeckers take a 1B. So we want to flip ahead to that section. We have them organized by band size. Each size of band has different strings associated with it, and so has different numbers. So you can see with the 1B bands, they're quite a bit larger, especially compared to the bands we put on a chickadee. Still pretty small though, pretty light. Typically, when performing any kind of research, you're legally limited to 5% of the bird's body mass. This downy woodpecker is going to weigh in at about probably 30 grams. That tends to be the average. This band doesn't even register on the scale. In fact, I can actually demonstrate that right now because I have a scale right in front of me. Okay, 0.1 grams. Cool. It barely registers. One Bs are weird because they're disproportionately thick for their actual size. Seem to get a little bit funky when you're opening them. You need a different tool entirely. Woodpeckers are also a little bit of a pain to band because their legs are so short and stubby, so I need to use a slightly different grip dealing with it. As long as I'm manipulating the leg by a joint, it's fine. I don't like that. Hang on. There we go, that's better. I forgot to give you the band number, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
It is 50.
Okay.
That's good, because if that had been the wrong band number, this would have been very awkward. And now's the part where I get to have fun. Because woodpeckers have molts that can be best described as slightly screwy. They kind of do things in a very weird pattern. So very often they're either incredibly easy or incredibly difficult with absolutely no in between. This woodpecker, okay, good, is incredibly easy. So in a woodpecker's hatch here, it has a molt pattern very similar to that of songbirds, where you'll have uniformly replaced greater coverts and uniformly unreplaced primary coverts. So it's a little bit tough to see because the lighting's... Actually, no, it's really easy to see here. So you can actually see right on the camera exactly where that replacement stops and where we get into younger feathers again. You can see just where it starts getting like duller and grayer. That's not an artifact of the light, that's just the feathers themselves being older and more worn. So this one's a hatchier. So sorry, John, this one does not have a funky molt pattern. But yes, if this woodpecker was older, they replace some of their primary coverts, but not all of them. Remember how I was saying most songbirds replace every single feather when they're older? With woodpeckers, they don't. Instead, they'll replace some of their primaries, maybe some random block of secondaries in here, a couple of their primary coverts. So you'll end up with like this really weird pattern of like 2 new primaries over here, maybe 1 over here, with the rest remaining normal. And then in their 3rd year, they'll replace a few more, but not all of them. So you'll end up with like 3 generations of feathers all interspersed with each other. And then in their 4th year, they'll start replacing like some other random ones. So it may be completely uniform, or it may just have like 3 generations of feathers that are all over the place in a very specific pattern. And they're a giant pain, is what I'm trying to express. So anyway, this one's a hatchier. It's also a female. We know it's a female because no red on the back of its head. Nice and easy. So our wing is... Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Our wing is 96. And our tail is 59. Flight feather wear is 0 by 1. Basically always going to be 1 with their tail. Give me a sec. Those wrinkles or feather fluff? I've been fooled by this before. No, it's just feather fluff. Okay. Ooh, lightheaded now. Too much blowing. So yeah, 0 and 0 for breeding characteristics, 0 for fat, and 0 for body mold. So before I weigh this one, woodpeckers have something really neat with some of their feathers, which is that their tail looks totally different. You'll see it's a lot more pointy. The feathers themselves are a lot more robust, and they need to be because woodpeckers actually use their tail in order to brace themselves against trees. Actually, can you stand like little tiny bits here? Yeah, right there. Now you're casting a nice shadow. It's not blowing out the camera anymore. So yeah, woodpeckers use their tails to brace themselves against trees. They'll climb over trees using their legs and claws, and then brace it against the tail. So you can just kind of hop up and over the tree looking for stuff trapped in the bark and all that. Believe that's all. Oh no, we still need to weigh this one. So same thing with the chickadee. Zero out the tube, put it in, hold my hand over it because woodpeckers are also cavity nesters and can very easily sneak their way out of this. $27.4. So now I'm actually going to try something a little different. I'm going to try and set up a release camera. Because I think my one webcam wire is long enough that I can put it into the release hatch. There we go, how's that look? Completely blown out, great. That's slightly better. Helps be good enough. So here's my favorite part, where I get to fire the woodpecker cannon. Because since they're cavity nesters, they will just launch themselves out. And there it goes.
What's this species called?
D-O-W-O. Dowo.
And then the code for how you sexed it?
By PL.
Okay. And what number of net did you say?
59.
Okay. Sweet.
Cool. And that light is going to be a problem.
I know, I'm just gonna have to stand here for the whole time.
Or I'm just going to need to put up a curtain or something there.
Yeah.
We have some tension rods left over, so I could put up something. Shouldn't be too hard.
No.
So presumably Irene and company are still working on nets. So on the 15, let's go out on normal check and see if Irene's gotten caught up with something.
Sure.
I'll throw up a BRB screen and we'll see what they've got.
Alright.
Because maybe they've got a whole bunch of sparrows and just need rescuing.
Maybe.
Do. Right. Alright, so we were at 10:15. That's net check. Since Irene and our other volunteer are not back yet, I'm going to assume they got hung up somehow. So I'm going to go out, use posters to cover the window. You know what, Mom? That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea at all. The posters already have little command strips on them. So I might be able to stick something up like that. I'll try that. Actually, wait, hang on. I've had a really stupid idea.
Oh, there we go.
Is this even gonna fit? Yes! It will fit! Is that them coming back? Should be coming from that side.
Oh,
There they are, alright.
they look empty-handed.
They do look empty-handed. Alright, I'll need an extra hand here. Just hold this up.
Are we due for a net check quarter after?
We are, yes.
Okay, we'll head.
Thank you. It's not going to fit
Can I grab another few bags?
Yes, yes you can.
Okay. There we go.
Okay, how much does that improve things? Actually, quite a lot. So if you're wondering what I've just done,
Where's some more bags, the ones that are not used yet?
that's our visitor poster blocking the window now. Brilliant. New bags.
Okay.
There you go.
We are going to be optimistic.
Yeah, optimism is great. We're going to get lots of birds, and those birds are going to be exciting, and they won't just be a horde of chickadees. Be careful what you wish for. That's a way to guarantee that it's just going to be a horde of chickadees. I've already had my hands torn up enough by owls. Alright. You know, I'm actually going to go off on that check with them to help expedite things. So I will return in about 10 minutes or so. I am back, and I have birds. So while I was away, I reopened the feeder net. It's got several birds already, which, yay. So this one I think is new, it's from 51. It's only partially solved the problem. Can you just move all the posters right a little bit? It's like right to the edge of the... Does that improve things? A little bit. I forgot to zero out the scale and move the chickadee, that's fine. This one does have band, I'm a liar.
Oh, hey.
Alright, so 2960 58123. That was not 10:30 in the feet. No, sorry, 10:15 and 51. This is a hatchier bird with an absolute disaster of a tail, it must be said. Look at that feather.
Oh yeah.
Gone. Sex unknown. I may have said that already. Wing is 64. Tail is 62. Flight feather wear is 1 by 3. Faz 0. And you can see some of that body molt I'm looking for on this one. You can actually cast a bit of a shadow. There we go. You can see some of the body molt I'm talking about on this one. Right over there you can see some kind of pin feathers. So when feathers grow in, they have a keratinized sheath around them. So it's kind of a tube around the base of the feather that vascularizes it as it's growing in. So that indicates that it's a, that's what we call a pin feather. That's what we're looking at when we're looking for body mold. Okay, so I'm going to have Molly here actually do a bit of practice on handling. So, you've seen Banner's grip a little bit. What you want is first hold up your non-dominant hand. Cool. So 2 fingers out in a peace sign. Those go around the neck. And they go just tightly enough so the head can't get past, but not any tighter than that. The rest of your fingers are forming a loose cage around the body with the wings just against the back. You don't need to put any pressure on these fingers at all. It's restraint just by virtue of everything being there. So there you go, you're holding the bird.
Nice.
Now throw it out the window. Don't actually throw it, just put it down. There it goes. For future reference when you're releasing, always make sure it's above something.
Okay.
Sometimes it takes them a moment to clue in that they can actually fly, and you don't want to just drop it on the ground.
That's good.
That one was fine. When I release them, I actually kind of do it a little bit funky and keep my 2 fingers underneath them, so that way they do have something to brace off. It looks like I'm just kind of tossing them, but actually I'm having them perch on my ring finger and then having them fly off that way.
Okay.
All right, next.
What was the body molt on that?
The body molt was 1. I also forgot to weigh it.
Oh, yeah.
This is the fun thing about streaming. Your attention is super split and you forget things. Zero properly scaled. There we go. They're all chickadees, by the way, in case you're wondering. Stop. Oh, this one's just going at me.
We banded.
We are.
Okay.
2960 50836. Hatch here, sex unknown.
Which net was this guy from?
50. Wing is 67. Tail is 63. White featherware is 1 by 1. Fat 0, Molt 1. There's like 3 pin feathers. So it is more than absolutely no Molt.
What was the weight?
11.8 grams. I did remember to do that this time.
You did.
So same thing, take the bird from it, release it out of the hatch. So also when it's biting you, try not to pull away, just take the pain. Sometimes you want to just manipulate it by the beak. It is safe to manipulate a bird by the beak to move it around a bit. Cute. You know what? I got 3 birds here. I think I'm going to do the chickadee first. Is there a flat fly in there? No, it's just a fluff. Okay, ow! So chickadees are very good at figuring out how to inflict pain. Because they go for all the tender spots, like cuticles and like just meat of the fingers and all that. They have a surprisingly detailed knowledge of human anatomy. Another recapture. 1990, this is a map string, I recognize that one. 62089.
Was this one from the feeder?
This one's feeder. Yeah, all the rest of these are feeder now.
Okay. What time did we get them out?
10:30, I think. Yeah. So this is a hatch here. Sex unknown, as is typical. We can sex chickadees when they're showing breeding characteristics, but they are not right now. Wing is 67. Tail is 65. Whoops. Plate featherware is 1 by 1. Pretty familiar refrain at this point. Fat 0, Molt is a 2.
Weight?
12.0. So when we're grading Molt, we're basically just, the way we grade is basically just how many quarters of the body is the Molt covering. 1 just represents like 0.1 to 25%. 2 represents more than a quarter, less than half, etc., etc. So I'm going to get our...
I'll grab her.
Yeah. Stop it. fluff on the top of your head that I'm trying to fix. There you go. That's a little more photogenic now.
Irene's going to check again.
Okay. Would you actually mind going with her?
Yeah, I think
Yeah. So we're doing another net check. Hopefully we'll get something more interesting than chickadees. I'll admit I don't have the highest hopes. I'm just waiting for another volunteer to come in so that I can do some grip practice with her. Oops. All right, we return. Next bird. So that one did just sneak away from me. It is now safely escaped. Just rather people didn't hear off-camera grunts of exertion as I tried to chase it toward the door. The mesh over the windows isn't actually to capture the escapees. It's to prevent them from smacking into the windows and potentially injuring themselves. It's a proactive measure. Ow. Ow. Stop. Another recapture. So, band number.
Is this the same?
Yeah, I'll be going in order along the sheets.
Okay.
Band number is 1990. 82071. I'm actually going to fiddle with this band a little bit because it's not as close as I would like it to be. That's a little better. Cool. Alright, you got the idea. Yeah, just draw that down. So yeah, just line down. Time is the same. That is the same. So you can just draw a line down. Same as you did with the date. Leave that. This bird is a difficult one. Remember how nice and easy it was with the woodpecker? I can just hold it up into the light. You could clearly see differences in feathers. Chickadees are just way more difficult for no reason than to be annoying. Sure. This is going to take me a moment to figure out anyway. Okay, well, white doesn't wrap around there. It's pretty thick, but never found that to be incredibly reliable. Yeah, alright, you know what? I'll call this one a hatch here. Wing is 65. Tail is 64. White feather wear is 0 by 2. That column is 0 by 0. It's always 0 by 0. It's just fat is 0, body molt is 1. Alright, and now same thing. Let's have you practice handling.
Okay.
So with non-dominant hand, first of all. Ow. So 2 fingers out. These go around the bird's neck. Yeah, if it bites you, just take it, don't flinch.
Okay. Okay.
So, easy, easy.
More around the
You go around the neck, nice and gentle. It's just, you're restraining by presence, not by
Okay.
actual force.
Okay.
The rest of your fingers are forming a loose cage around the body, with its wings pressed flat against the palm of your hand.
Okay.
So sometimes you might want it to be a little bit further back. It depends on how people like it. Some people like it like right at the
Okay.
back there. Some like it up near the knuckles.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see here how you have good control over the bird. You have access to the legs, you have access to the wings.
Okay, I have 1 leg.
Yeah.
I have 2.
Cool.
Okay, cutie.
Yeah,
I'm strangling you.
that's strangling it. So you can actually tighten your fingers a little bit.
Okay.
These ones. Because it's able to sort of push back a little bit. And now, out the hatch. Make sure you have it over something when you release it. Over the, like something solid, yeah. And there it goes.
There we go.
Cool.
Thank you.
That's a bird released. And last one for the time being until Irene and Molly bring back more birds. Or until we catch something in the feeder net. It's warmer now, so we don't need to monitor it quite as closely. And another recaptured chickadee that is biting the bag. Stop it. There we go. Alright, this one weighs 11.2 grams. Far right. Band number is 2960 50970. Black cat chickadee. Just draw it down, 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 and down. Cool. So what I'm looking for on chickadees is for the white on the tail, outermost tail feather to extend all the way around, which it does kind of
yeah.
here. But these feathers are also a lot shorter than everything else, which has made me suspicious of something. No, they're not in pin. That's weird. Ugh. Why are chickadees like this? So the problem with chickadees, and the reason that I don't actually like using tail feathers as a reliable metric, is because chickadees are very prone to losing their tails. They will just drop them at the drop of a hat, pun not intended. Well, maybe not the drop of a hat, no, but like when they're attacked by a predator, like reptiles, birds can adventitiously lose their tail feathers and then just replace them whenever they need. And when a hatchier bird replaces its tail, it's going to come in looking like an adult tail. So sometimes if you have like a very adult looking feather and then some very not adult looking feathers, it's a good idea to take a close look at it because it may have just lost and then replaced a block. In this case though, that tail does look pretty truncate. Same with the primary coverts. Yeah, this is an after hatchier. So this I'm thinking is an older bird. Wing is 66. Tail is 70. Oh yeah, sex is unknown. You can just draw a line down for initials. These chickadees can't be sexed with external plumage characteristics. Feather wear is 0 by 1. 0 by 0 for that. That is 0. Body molt is 2. Alright, let's get a little more practice for you. Good.
Do you always grab the...
I do sometimes, not all the time, just because it's not often necessary on smaller birds. I will if they're being really feisty and uncooperative with them, and I will sometimes do that for larger woodpeckers.
Okay.
Because otherwise it can really scratch you. So what I'd like you to do is move your thumb and then pull up the wing. When you're moving the wing, only ever manipulate it by a joint.
By a joint?
Yeah. So there's the joint right here.
Okay.
That way we know we're not placing any strain on the actual bones. So you can see the greater coverts, primary coverts, lesser coverts. You're not actually going to see anything useful in terms of aging for this in there because chickadees are very unreliable like that and none of their features are very helpful. But you know, it's a thing that's cool and it's useful to be able to manipulate it like that. So the reason we always handle them in our offhand is because, you know, you're doing your fine manipulations on the wing, leg, and
Right.
etc. with your dominant hand. Whereas the left hand is just kind of hanging there. Anyway, let's let it go.
Very nice.
And that is all our birds for the time being. Irene and Molly are just out on net check at the moment. So they'll be bringing back some more. I think I see something out in the feeder net actually, so I'm going to poke my nose out. I'll be right back.
Do I go to
I'm back,
cage?
and I have something fun. As soon as I get it to cooperate and go into photographer's grip. I have a nuthatch. One that's not... That stupid sun. I just can't do anything about that.
I can block it. Ready?
There we go, nuthatch.
Does that help?
That does help, yes.
It's very pretty.
How the owl banding nights work? Well, we start off. I think I'll actually be running owl banding on Wednesday. So we start off half an hour after sunset. We open a different set of nets that use audio playback lures in order to bring the owls in. And then for the most part it works basically just like our songbird banding events. We're doing it outdoors for the time being, so be prepared for cold temperatures. We have benches, we have lights, and all that. We have hot water and stuff if you want tea. But yeah, it'll be the same thing where we just every half hour we check the nets, we bring you guys along, and then we bring whatever owls we catch back to the lab to band them. Typically it starts picking up a little bit later in the night, usually around 9 o'clock or so. But we do occasionally get really good stuff right at the beginning. Anyway, let's process this nuthatch. So nuthatches are cool and exciting, not because they're particularly exciting birds on their own, but because bird banding stations don't actually capture them very often. This one's already been banded, probably by me, actually, because we've only captured a couple and banded them both, so there's a decent probability this one's mine, might be someone else's. Anyway.
Same page?
Yeah, recaptures. Nuthatches are non-migratory, they're a resident bird, so there's a very low local population just in any given region, because when birds migrate, you end up with very high densities at stopover habitat while they're moving along. But with just resident birds, when they're not migrating, you just don't get those same densities. You get the same density you do all the time, which is low. Anyway, this band is 2791 48624. And I'm actually going to need to consult the reference guide because I don't remember how nuthatches work. What breasted nuthatch? 352. So this over here is the Bander's Bible. It's a exhaustive, and I do mean exhaustive, reference guide detailing every single feature that birds have while they're molting and all that. It's incredibly useful if you're directly handling birds, and absolutely useless if you're doing literally anything else. So, white-breasted nuthatch, hatch year. Most winged coverts are in all secondaries and primaries brownish-gray with little or no brownish or bluish edging. Okay, I actually have quite a bit of bluish edging on nearly everything. Stop it. Winged coverts, secondaries, and primaries uniformly dusky with bluish edging, not contrasting markedly with the gray or blue-gray black back. Okay, yes, this is an after hatch year. That's actually nice and easy. Cool. Crown, female. Crown lead colored, usually to dull black with at least a few gray feathers, often contrasting with the blacker nape. Upper parts gray, wing edging dull with a brownish or olive tinge. Crown nape uniformly dull black to glossy black, or parts bluish gray. Okay, this is a female.
6F?
Yeah, F by PL. So this is an older female. So the reason I was able to tell that it was an older female is because the primary coverts here all have pretty nice bluish edging, and the secondary feathers also all have that same edging as you go through it. So there's that kind of bluey gray right at the leading edge of those feathers. I know it's a female because on a male, this head would be like totally black, very dark, very glossy. There's some blue mixed in there. It's kind of more of a dull gray than an actual black. So it's features like that this book tells us about. It also tells us about the reliability of aging and sexing at different times of year and all that, but in this case, with an older bird, it's at this time of year it should be extremely reliable, very easy, which it kind of was. It's also doing something weird with its tail. Looks like its tail's half growing in. Hang on a sec. Yeah, it is. So its tail here, you'll notice that like a bunch of feathers on the right side are much shorter than they are everywhere else. Remember I was talking about chickadees of adventitious replacement? This woodpecker has this nuthatch has lost these feathers here and is just in the process of regrowing them. So that's neat. Anyway, wing is 88. Tail is 43. So it's growing in all those feathers because that seems really short. No, it's not. It's only growing in some of them. Okay. Right, feather wear. Light feather wear is 1. Tail feather wear is 0, which is weird because usually nuthatches like woodpeckers will brace their tails against trees. That is 0. Body molt is 1.
Wait.
Oh yeah, I did not weigh it because it didn't have the didn't come in with a bag. Yeah, snap, snap, snap. Chomp, 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 chomp. Stop. Okay, stop. Actually, our volunteers are coming back, so before I weigh it, I'm going to show it off. Because when I take it out, it'll be via the nuthatch cannon.
Oh, look at that.
Caught a nuthatch? You know, I put the net up a little bit because I was thinking of them flying around. Oh, you have it in hand.
Yeah.
Even another chicken.
Sweet.
I think there's a junco.
Junco in the net. Cool.
Oh,
Some variety. We're finally getting something interesting.
That's fun. Did you already write down the info for this guy?
Yeah, this guy's done. Just needs weight, and then I will release it. I keep having a tube weigh cavity nesters. I did not zero this, so I'll get you the weight after I release. Thing's not coming off. There we go. There it goes. That probably looks way better when you know, it's actually in focus and everything, but Okay, right.
And the weight of that one.
Oh yes,
Weigh that.
21.3.
0.1.
21.3.
Oh, I was like, 0.1 does not make sense. And what was it? Species code?
WBNU. Whoopnoo.
Okay.
That was 1110.
Okay, feeder?
Yeah, the feeder net. Alright, this one is from 57, whatever it is. It might be a recapture, it might not be. That light is starting to get really bad. That's something technical to figure out for later streams. This feels like not a chickadee. Exciting. Oh, it is a chickadee. Never mind. So as a recap, chickadee 10.2. I'm getting real sick of chickadees, guys. Band is 2880 221. Wait, hang on. Yeah, 22116. Oh, and this chickadee is demonstrating that thing I was talking about. We have more adventitious replacement in the tail, right over here. Which makes me think that there might have been more over here because these feathers don't look the same. These feathers look much more old and worn than these ones over here, so I'm thinking that this might be a replaced block as well, but it might not be. So I'm going to do something that is kind of a fool's errand when you're doing it with chickadees, and I'm going to try and look at its skull formation. That's something you can do with most songbirds, because with most songbirds you can see their skull through their skin as well. And when they're hatched, they have two layers of skull that aren't really connected. As they age, there will be columns of bone that form in between those two layers, giving it a bit of a stippled appearance, and that forms according to a pretty specific pattern. So you'll sometimes be able to see that by looking into the bird's scalp. However, on chickadees, their skin is black, so I can't typically see anything. And that's the case here. I'm not getting anything useful. So I'm just going to call this one unknown by IC.
By Irene Crosland?
Yes. Because Irene told me unknown. IC is a code meaning inconsistent or conflicting. So I'm getting mixed messages from this guy and just don't really know what's going on. Sex is also unknown. Wing is 63. Tail is what? Tail's only 58. That's really short for a chickadee. But that. Oh yeah, they're all growing in. They're all every single one of the tail feathers is in pin.
Oh yes, you can see them there.
So yeah, just white out the tail measurements because the tail's growing in.
Is it the white ones?
It's all of them.
All of them. Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea what age this guy is, and I have no way of knowing.
Right, nothing for tail measurement then?
Yeah.
Because he's growing them in.
Okay.
Fat and body molt is 0.
Except for the tail.
Yeah, that's why it's strictly by body molt.
Yeah.
Flight feather wear is 1 by 1. And put in the comments,
Replacing tail feathers?
yeah, write ADV dot replacing tail.
Okay.
ADV.
Adventitious.
Oh, okay.
It's just kind of a shorthand. Anyway, so that's this one done, I believe?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, alright.
The next one is a fun one.
I saw it outside.
Is it banded?
No, it's not. So,
This next one is actually going to be something different, which, yay. I mean, look, we've got some different stuff already. We've got the woodpecker, we got the nuthatch, both of those are cool. This is one of the species I predicted we'd actually be catching today, and so far have only got this one.
I'm looking for junco.
This is a junco.
0 to 1.
A dark-eyed junco is the species name. We refer to it as a slate-colored junco because that's its subspecies. So there's two subspecies of dark-eyed junco. You have the slate-colored junco in the east and the Oregon junco in the west. By east and west, I mean east and west of the Rocky Mountains specifically. This one is also unbanded, which is cool. So flip to 0. Oh, you're already there. Good. Weight is 22.4 grams.
Oh.
Species code is SCJU. Band is 6'9".
I have another bird.
Ooh, you do. That's a chickadee. Alright. Alright, so juncos are great.
Net tip time. So
Yeah. Juncos are great. They're incredibly easy because they replace their feathers in the same way that most songbirds do, except unlike chickadees, they're actually really obvious about where that replacement stops. So in this junco, we've gone from completely blown out to not visible at all. That's not great. Alright, just step back a bit. We'll deal with it being blown out. So this junco, if you can see, these feathers go gray, 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 brown. If it was an adult, they go gray, 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 gray. And they haven't. So that's nice and easy. This is a hatch year. The other super easy thing with juncos is figuring out if they're male or female. What I do is I just hold them at arm's length and I ask myself, is this gray or brown? Ugh. Lighting, not good. So it's impossible to tell because it's so blown out on the camera here, but it's gray, and that means male. Oh, you can see the color well? Okay, it doesn't look like that on my screen. It looks terrible on my screen, just totally blown out.
Is that PL as well?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of brown. Whoop. You can see a little bit of brown on its back here, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's female. It's primarily gray, and that indicates that it's male. If it was an adult male, it wouldn't have any brown at all. But because we already know that it's a hatch here, a young bird, oh god, you need to stop. Because we already know this is a young bird, that brown doesn't really hint us toward female. We already see the gray. So, what else do I need?
Wing.
Oh yeah, I need everything.
Yeah.
That's part of what I like having a scribe for. Scribes help remind the bander what they've forgotten, which is great when the bander has split attention. So the wing is 77. Tail is 61. Flight feather wear is 0 by 2. So remember how I was saying about ground birds like sparrows have much worse tails because they're dragging on the ground constantly? Juncos are a kind of sparrow, so their tails are always incredibly ratty. So you can see just the edges. You can see the edges of the edges and ends of the tail feathers there are all very worn. This one's just missing the end entirely. It's just broken right off. You can also see the white outer tail feathers. That's just a junco thing. They always flash them in flight. And what I'm kind of thinking is that because white is kind of a universal thing of danger in nature. So yeah, white is a universal symbol of danger. And sparrows usually only fly when they're flushed. So flashing those white tail feathers might be a signal to the other birds that there's something that, would cause them to fly off. Anyway, I think that's everything there. No, still got too fat and everything.
Yeah.
Whoa! This is a fat one. So, up till now, all the birds have had fats of 0. This one, though, you can see how there's actually no hollow whatsoever, and everything underneath is just yellow packed into that furcular hollow. So because it's flush with everything else, that actually has a fat of 4. I don't know if you can see it that well, but it's the best I can do. And body molt is 0. So I'm going to let this guy go. So long. And I think that's actually a pretty good place to end the stream. We've been going for about 2 hours actually running banding now, which is about what I intended it to go for. We've also got wind picking up, which means we're going to be closing some nets. So catch rate is going to drastically decline even with the feeder net. So I'm going to call it here. But thank you so much for coming by and having patience with any technical issues I had. I know we had a couple false starts and probably there was some trouble finding the stream as a result of that. But, you know, I feel like this worked relatively well. So once again, thanks for everyone coming by. As you may have noticed by the thing at the bottom, please consider donating because we are a nonprofit funded entirely by donations, grants, and whatever fundraising we're able to do. I do plan on doing a couple other streams in the future, but because songbirds is very much dropping off, as you can tell by most of our capture being chickadees and juncos, we're at basically the end of the migration season. So there's not a lot else out there, and we're not going to be able to open nets for any amount of time for very much longer. We've got maybe a few days to a week of actual migration monitoring left. But anyway, again, thank you. Stay tuned to our social media for updates on any other live streams we'll be doing. I'd like to do at least 2 more with owls. So this has been a good proof of concept to help get the kinks ironed out. And hopefully I'll see you at later streams. Good night, everyone. Or good morning. Good. So long.